Hey guys, it's Kate, and in this speed build I'm building a mansion on a 64x64 lot in Windenburg. Again, it's a 64x64 lot. I don't know, I just have so much fun building on these huge lots because there's so much space for landscaping and for using the terrain tool. And in case you missed it, you can check out my tutorial that I made about the terrain tools. I'm explaining how to build houses using the terrain tool, stairs and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to link my tutorial playlist down below in case you're interested. And here I'm just working on the general shape, and I'm using the same method that I have shown you guys in the tutorial. I'm starting off with a room at the bottom, and then I'm kind of continue building on the floor above, but I don't know what happened. I'm not even sure, and I'm rewatching this right now while I'm doing the voiceover. Obviously I'm kind of not sure what happened, but suddenly I had two complete floors, and I don't know, I expanded it at the bottom, and then it wasn't really a typical train build the way that I do it. I don't know, I just got carried away while building, and I don't know, I just love this, to be honest. I just built it as I went, and I don't know, this is fun. Sometimes you don't really need a solid plan, just build and have some fun, I would say. So this build is huge. It's really big, and because I kind of started building at the bottom as well, there isn't just terrain in place but actual rooms, so it's a full 2-story house, and it's really big. And I kind of noticed that whenever I build huge houses, somehow, I don't know, but there aren't that many bedrooms for some reason, and that doesn't make a lot of sense. So I decided to build a lot of bedrooms in this build. So this house has 6 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms, if I'm not mistaken. And it's really big. It's a perfect house for a big sim family. And I decided to build 2 bedrooms that are like master bedrooms, normal bedrooms for grown-ups, and one of the bedrooms is a ensuite with a bathroom, and then 2 other bedrooms are kids rooms, regular kids rooms, and then the other 2 are teenager rooms. I just made them look a little bit more mature, but still like a kids room, like, I don't know, maybe for a teenager, yeah. And here I am working on a patio area in the front. I decided to use a roof like this, and I decided to make it a little bit vaulted at the top, just so it's not as angular as all the other roofs. I kind of wanted to have a little contrast going on. And I just love how this turned out, and this was a little bit tricky. Here I'm working on another patio area, and I decided to use the bridge method that I have used before. But of course I wasn't able to connect this area fully to the house because they are on different levels. So there is a little gap in between, and I just put some plants in between. It was really exciting to build this, probably because I didn't have a solid plan. As I said in the beginning, I just built and had fun, and sometimes I ran into some problems and I just solved them. And at first I wasn't really sure which colors I would like to pick, and I know I changed a few things up and added stairs in the front, which always looks lovely. I love to place them this way, it looks great. And these stairs are part of Get Famous, and I just love them. Whenever I use white stairs, I use these. I now changed them to the brown Get Together stairs, but I'm going to switch back. I also have to tell you guys how I fell into a rabbit hole during the last day. I was watching videos on YouTube, and then there was a video in my recommendations about how Victorian houses got the reputation of being haunted, and I think that this is such an interesting topic. I feel like Victorian houses are one of the most beautiful houses. I just love all the details, and I love that they are so old. Just imagine if the walls of these houses would be able to talk and tell us stories, other stuff that happened in these houses. It's just so amazing, and there's just something so fascinating about Victorian architecture, in my opinion. However, I went down to the comment section, and people started to talk about the Winchester Mystery House. And I have to say that I have read about it, like the name, but I never looked it up. But this time I just got curious, so I googled the Winchester Mystery House, and then I fell into sad rabbit hole. I watched a lot of YouTube videos and I read a lot about it, and it's so interesting. In case you have no idea what I'm talking about, the Winchester Mystery House was built by Sarah Winchester, and her husband had a company for firearms, and then he passed away and she inherited all his money, about $20 million, and today, if you would compare it, it would be about $500 million. So she was very, very rich, and her daughter passed away, so she was all alone and very rich and in a very vulnerable position. And she went to a psychic. This is at least how the legend goes, and the psychic told her that all the ghosts of the people who were killed with the Winchester firearms would haunt her, and she would die early, and the only way to escape this fate would be to start constructing a house and to never stop construction. This is what the psychic told her. So the construction of the house started in 1884, and she used her money to build this amazing huge house. It has, I think, about 160 rooms, and it's just huge. But this is not the crazy part about it, because I mean, there are a lot of big houses, right? The crazy thing is that it's like a maze. There are stairs that just go up and right underneath the ceiling. There are doors leading to nowhere. When you open them, you would fall down on the exterior. There are doors, when you open them, there is just a wall behind. There are rooms that were fully enclosed. There is a bathroom that you can't enter from inside the house. There's just one door that leads to the outside, to the exterior on the second floor or something, and lots of crazy stuff like this. And a lot of people think that she did not only stop building the house because of what the psychic told her, but also because she kind of wanted to make it look like a maze so she could escape the ghosts. And there's also a legend that says that she slept in a different bedroom every night. But there's also a other side to the story, which I think is very interesting, because a lot of people say that there is no real evidence that there was ever a psychic involved, that she was really into spiritualism, which was a really big thing back then. It was kind of normal to be into that kind of stuff, unlike today. And a lot of people think that she was just a lonely woman with a lot of money and a huge interest in architecture. It's like building a very weird house in The Sims, but in real life. And she would just scribble down ideas that she had for a house, and then the people who worked for her would just stop building, so nothing really made sense. And also there was this very bad earthquake in 1906 in San Francisco, and this earthquake also affected the house. Originally the house had like 7 floors, and now it has 4 because a huge tower collapsed and all that stuff, and this also contributed to the house being a little weird. But I don't know, I think it's very interesting because a lot of people think that Sarah Winchester was kind of ahead of her time, and also back then it wasn't normal for a woman to just live alone and live her life. It was a weird thing because it was just normal for a woman to definitely live with a man, and she was just rich and could whatever she wanted and lived in that house alone. So there was a lot of rumors around all that and a lot of stereotypes. I think it's very interesting. And I think that the truth maybe lies in between. She may was ahead of her time, and she may just had some fun, but maybe she also was a little bit, let's say, vulnerable for all that kind of psychic stuff and for believing in this kind of stuff. I'm not saying that it's wrong to believe in that kind of stuff. Absolutely. I know that a lot of people believe in ghosts and in the spirit world and all that kind of stuff, and I have a lot of respect for that, even though I'm not believing into that myself. But I think that in this case, if this was the case, she definitely got carried away and it affected her on a deeper level, because if the stories are true, I think she never really found peace, you know, because when you feel forced to continue construction of such a huge house and it's like a never-ending task, and you kind of feel, I don't know, followed by ghosts, you feel like they are always behind you. I don't think that she really had a very peaceful life if this is the case, and at the end of the day it's very tragic. But enough about that. I know I talked a lot about the Winchester mystery house, so if you're interested you can look it up yourself, and I can really recommend it. I mean, we are all into building and architecture and all that kind of stuff here, obviously, because this is all about building houses, and I thought that a lot of people might actually find this interesting, especially because it kind of is a little bit creepy, and I think paranormal stuff can be very interesting. But back to this lovely build, here I'm starting to work on the back, and this is always tricky for me because whenever I'm using kind of a diagonal floor plan, when I'm including diagonal parts, it's kind of tricky to kind of tie the roofing together to make it look nice and beautiful. And also in the back I kind of expanded this middle section with the gabled roof to the back, and this was a bit tricky, but I think it turned out nice. And there's also a little garden area. As you're going to see later, I'm going to include a pool and a little barbecue area and all that kind of stuff. And I'm using a lot of rocks at the slopes to make it look nice and beautiful. I really don't enjoy leaving the slopes the way they are, so I like to size up some rocks and place them there, just make it look more natural. And I really found out, I mentioned it before, but I found that these plants that I'm using here around the edges of the rocks, these are just perfect to place them on slopes. So we can just kind of hide them because we can't paint slopes that are too steep, and this is just perfect. And I use a lot of them. I just hold down shift so I can place a ton of them. And here I kind of struggle to place a table, which is kind of odd, but somehow the table just, I don't know, it was sunken down in the patio area, and I don't know, but it worked out eventually. And I added lots of details. Again, these little things are part of Get Famous, and they're just perfect for this type of build in my opinion. And I also used a lot of shelves as always, because you can use the regular freezers, but I feel like adding shelves it just adds more detail, more dimension. I just love to do that. And I used this fence around the back area, and I kind of had to readjust the terrain so it's not completely wonky and weird. And this is a stone carpet that is part of Get Together. I just love it. It's perfect to create a little cute path like this. And in the front section, I decided to add a little curved element by using this little object that is part of Get Famous, and I just placed it individually over and over again to work out this beautiful curve in the front. This is a little pedestal that you can place something on top if you would like to, and I did the same on the other side. And I have to say the placing of the rocks was very tedious as always, so I had to cut out a part of this, as you're going to notice later, because in the back you see how I start placing the rocks and then it's done, because I don't think that you would enjoy watching me placing rocks for 3 minutes or something. And here I'm using the same roof that I already used on the left side. I kind of felt that it just adds another level of detail, and I just love the shadows that this roof cast. It just looks so beautiful, and I'm adding more details here. It's all about the details. If I would have gotten €1 for every time that I say details, I would be very rich probably. But I just like to use details, and I can really recommend it, because when you're working out the shape of a house, I would advise to make it already look detailed as possible. So just add little nooks here and there and all that stuff, and then just add more details on the exterior. And I think this is how a build really comes together and what makes it look beautiful. Don't be afraid of adding details. Go all out and add a lot of stuff. I can really recommend it, and it's a lot of fun to just see how the concept kind of grows. And here I'm working on the kitchen, and I decided to use a completely different shape for the island counters in the center. You guys know that I love a nice lovely island counter, but I wanted to have a little creative shape, so this is what I built, and I hold down all to place them very meticulously, because this is in the diagonal part of the house, and as you can see, it was kind of tricky to place the cupboards on the wall. So I used all to place them individually, and I was going for a modern look. So on the exterior, this house isn't really modern at all, but on the interior, I just started to build the kitchen, and I just tried to see what happens, and this is how I furnished the whole house basically. And here I'm using the windows that are part of the fitness pack, and I just placed them next to a column just so I have a little room divider basically, and this is a very good method for more modern builds to just have a little room divider. You can just activate bb.move objects and you can just place windows wherever you want. You just have to make sure to not place them too close to a wall or it just snaps to the wall basically. But yeah, it's a fun way to furnish a house in my opinion. And then I started to add more and more of these mint green details because I felt it was a little bit lifeless. There wasn't enough color, and I felt like the curtains in combination with the picture on the wall and this little flower that I placed on the island counter, it looks beautiful. And these chairs that I use on the island counter are part of the bowling pack, and I just love them. I think they are my new favorite chairs for island counters. Bar stools. Yeah, bar stools is the word I was looking for. Yeah, it's beautiful. I really love that. And here I'm working on the light. When I start furnishing, I usually just place these spots on top so I can see what I'm doing, and then I'm usually replacing them with something else. And I decided to use small individual tables for the dining table, and this way I kind of created my own custom dining table. Again, I use bb.move objects and I hold down Alt, and when you are holding down Alt you can place objects freely because they don't snap to the grid in this case, and you can just build nice little things like this. And I think it turned out quite cool. And I added a brick wall. This came with Get Famous because I wanted to add a little bit of warmth because I feel like it was a little bit cool toned, and I just thought that this would look a little bit modern, like a industrial type of build. At first I actually planned to use the walled counter, but then like to make it look very industrial, but then I decided to use this counter. And this is the living room. I used a lot of gray. I kind of wanted to step out of my comfort zone for this because I feel like I use a lot of white. There's no big difference between white and gray obviously, but I kind of wanted to have a more darker room, a more dark and cool look. And again, I incorporated a little bit of color, but at first I wasn't really sure how I would go about this. And I just love these sofas. These are part of Get Famous as well. And as you can see, I added these pictures on the wall just to add a little bit of color, and I think it turned out very cool. This is just a big living room where the family can gather and watch TV and all that, but I also added a second living room, kind of like a formal living room, where I added a little bar and bar stools and all that stuff, basically a room where you could entertain guests. I just figured that this house is so big, I just had to kind of add a lot of rooms. So this is also why I decided to use so many bedrooms, not only because it kind of makes sense to do that for a house like this instead of like having, I don't know, 3 huge bedrooms. I really wanted to use the space and build enough bedrooms in this case, but I kind of, I thought that a second living room would be cool. Here you can see the furnished hallway. I had to skip some of the rooms because honestly this video would have gotten so long, so I'm not showing you how I furnish 4 bathrooms. I'm just showing you one, and then I furnish the other ones in the same manner. And of course this house is fully furnished, and you can download this in the gallery if you want to. As always, I'm going to include all the information down below so you can download this lot in the gallery, and I'm also going to include a list of other packs that I used. And for the bathrooms I also went for a kind of blue color scheme. At first I really wanted to make the house very colorful and use different colors, but then I kind of loved the whole blue, and I don't know, it kind of almost has a like a nautical theme to it. I don't know, I just love the colors that I used for this. And this is the office. I used a huge dining table instead of a regular desk because I think it just looks majestic and beautiful. And I just added other stuff that you would expect, a chess table and an easel and all that kind of stuff. And there's also a gaming room at the top floor. I added a football table to the gaming room and also a darts board, so your Sims can have a place together and have some fun. And I mean, it's always good to have some stuff in a house that your Sims can actually use and spend some time together with. And this is the living room that I mentioned before, where I added a bar so the Sims can entertain some guests, and I think that the lights on the wall that are part of city living just look so cool. I think that this room really ties together this very typical living room look, but it still, I don't know, looks like a bar almost. It just has a very edgy, cool look to it. And these are the two, let's call them normal kids rooms. I really try to make it look like a regular kids room, and these aren't as big as the teenager rooms. Of course, you can always change up some stuff, colors and furniture, but I think that this is just perfect if you want to have a huge Sim family. There's just so much space, but I still decided to have the two master bedrooms really big. They are almost like a suite and a hotel, really. There is just the walk-in closet, and there is a area with sofas so your Sims can sit down, and it's really big because I don't know, I could have probably added like 10 bedrooms, but this would look boring and be boring, so I felt like having a kind of a suite like this as a master bedroom is really exciting and cool for a mansion like this. This is really a proper mansion, even though it has the look of a typical family home. This is what I really love. It's not like your typical Beverly Hills mansion. I've also built these in the past, but sometimes something like this is really fun, and during the last weeks I have really enjoyed to kind of build this typical family home kind of houses. And for this bedroom I also stayed within the blue color scheme, but I used this very, very dark blue, and I think it just looks so elegant out of this type of blue, and I combined it with the blue bed that is part of city living, and the rest of the details are mostly white, but I just love the contrast between white and a very dark blue. And here I'm working on the back section. I just added a barbecue area and a little pool so your Sims can have some fun in the garden. I used a lot of the space for the landscaping, for the rocks and all that stuff, but I still wanted to include just a area where Sims can really hang out and have a swim, because it would be a waste to not have a lovely backyard in a house like this, I think. And this is it, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this speed build, and I hope that you have a fantastic week. And if you have any questions or constructive criticism, leave a comment down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I hope I see you in the next video. Bye bye.